So yeah, man, this Laker defense just looks terrifying sometimes as they now go up 2-1 on the Warriors. I do want to talk about the Heat and the Knicks game 3 as well. But, with this Lakers thing, I mean, I'll dive into each one of these, but just to have an early sum up right here with their defense. So we saw some changes to the matchups. We saw Jared Vanderbilt on Draymond, which allowed them to switch the Steph-Draymond action a little bit more. We saw Anthony Davis guarding JaMychal Green, as in playing off of him or being able to kind of linger around the basket more often. We also saw AD guarding Looney for some of this game as well. And the other thing was, earlier in the game, AD was in a drop on some like Steph, Clay, Jordan Poole action, so they were able to get daylight and get some pull-up jumpers off. And then later on, they adjusted it. They had AD higher up on screens, which was able to slow those down. And then you had like Schroeder chasing from behind. When Draymond was out of the game after his 5th foul, Vanderbilt picked up Steph, so he was doing a little bit more of that chasing. And it seemed like eventually the Warriors, they were just kind of out of options on offense, man. It's like, well, if we put Draymond in a screen, Vanderbilt switches it, so then we got to go to something else. If we put Looney or JaMychal Green in a screen, then we're dealing with AD high up on these screens. If we get past our guy, well, now AD can just wait for us at the rim because he's not really guarding JaMychal Green like that. I guess I can reference some plays that I just wrote down as the game was happening. It seemed like there were 2 or 3 or maybe 5 more, I don't know, plays that felt like this, but it was basically like Steph gets a screen from Looney. AD's high up on the screen. I believe this is Schroeder from behind on Steph. Looney's open at the top of the key now. Steph throws it to him. And then Looney goes into a handoff action with Clay. And then AD was high on that screen again, which sounds easy, but for a lot of big guys, going up twice to the three-point line against the Warriors, like that's some difficult stuff. And then Clay in the middle of the thing with AD waiting for him, and I'm pretty sure LeBron's helping a little bit. And then you've got, well, I don't remember who behind him. Maybe it was D'Lo behind him or whatever. He tries to throw a pass where you can tell he's trying to get it to Steph on the opposite wing, but it was also kind of a desperate pass at the same time. Basically, it was a turnover. Another one where Jordan Poole and Kevon Looney run a screen, as always, Anthony Davis high up on the screen, and then it goes back to Looney. Similar thing, again, these types of plays happened a few times. Looney then runs a handoff action with Steph. AD gets up there again. Once again, not an easy thing to do. I believe Zach Lowe calls this the Warriors yo-yo, because you got to keep going back and forth against these guys. Anyway, then it results in Looney rolling to the basket. LeBron helps, and he's right there, and then Looney gets kind of caught up in the post, and he tries to make a desperate pass the other way to Dante, and Rui steals it, and we're going the other way again. I also remember a Clay floater on one of these types of things where, AD starts up high, backs up on him, Clay doesn't have daylight for the pull-up, and it was just a floater because he's like, I don't know what else I got, man, to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure I said this after game 1. I do think the sending an extra screener to deal with AD is still in the back pocket a little bit. Whether you want to call it double screen or double drag, I believe is the technical name for it. Now, of course, the flip side of this is you might just have so many bodies jumbled around in the paint. The Lakers could switch one thing, AD could get up there anyway. Like, it's not an automatic, this is simply going to work sort of deal, but I don't know, I just figure if AD's got to navigate a screen as opposed to just being up there on, the ball handler all the time, it might make it a little tougher for him. The other thing I'm wondering, too, is, again, at the end of that game 1 where they almost stole that one from the Lakers, they went as small as they possibly could. It was Steph, Clay, Draymond, Wiggins, Jordan Poole. That is the most shooting and floor spacing that they can put on the floor and all that. But the fear with that is, of course, the size difference, and not in the sense of Draymond. Like, obviously, Draymond is great at guarding guys bigger than him, but can everybody else deal with the size there? On top of, I don't know if the Warriors have a reliable 5th guy right now, man, between, Jordan Poole and just how up and down he is, where one game, the tough shots are going in, next game they're not, and the shot selection with him is always just kind of iffy. Kuminga's not playing a whole lot. He played late in this one for what it's worth. Moody, DiVincenzo, there's no Iguodala, man. GP2's minutes have not been super high in this thing either. We know what he can do on defense, of course. To be clear, when I say 5th guy, I mean a wing player. Like Looney, of course, has been super reliable for them for years now, but, Kerr dropped his minutes after game 1, so we'll see there. I mean, I mentioned how Kuminga's not playing a whole lot. Like, in a perfect world for the Warriors, Kuminga could be that guy who just can cut to the basket randomly within the middle of something happening at the top of the floor, and then the Lakers would have to worry about him as well in the back line, but it's just like, we know the Warriors would dare him to shoot. For what it's worth, he shot 37% from 3 on the regular season, not on a whole lot of attempts, but that was the number nonetheless. And it just seems like Kerr just doesn't really want to lean on him. So we'll see what happens moving forward. And of course, with the Warriors, like, they could just make a million threes, and we're tied up 2-2, and that's about it. On the other side of it, it felt like the Warriors' defense, for the most part, was like drop and then sag off of Vanderbilt or Schroeder or at least LeBron on 1-3 that I remember. And the Lakers had some interesting counters between, like, when LeBron went in the post, it seemed like the Warriors doubled him 2 of the times he was in the post. One that led to AD getting a cut from the free throw line. I think AD scored another time on that. You had like some AD corner actions where he would go baseline with like getting a screen from the corner. We had D'Lo cooking on ball a little bit. I remember one with him going at it. I don't remember if it was a Draymond or JaMychal Green drop, but it was a pull-up jumper getting kind of off of Clay regardless. But really, I felt like the biggest thing was the transition offense for the Lakers, just off of their great defense in this one. And also the free throw disparity. It's just going to be a thing this entire series, man. It's just two completely different teams with the personnel to just deal with contact at the rim time and time again and the whole thing. Okay, let's go on to the Heat and the Knicks a little bit. The Knicks offense, they had a very tough time. Kind of similar vibes to the Lakers-Warriors game. Couple things for the Heat. Bam on Julius Randle. The very first play of the game, Randle tries to ISO him, and he's just like struggling to get any sort of daylight. He ends up throwing up a fadeaway that wasn't that great. I remember another one in the post where Randle going at him where he missed it, and Bam held up really well. It seems like Kevin Love, his rules on defense are, if Brunson puts you in a screen on the wing, we're going to put 2 on the ball on him. We're going to have you hedge that screen. If he puts you in a screen in the middle of the floor, we're going to have you go to the level of the screen and then back up in a drop. And then we're going to have what felt like a lot of Gabe Vincent chasing him from behind. We're also at times just going to not guard the Knicks shooters that much. And look, a big thing in this is, like, will the Knicks knock down the threes that Miami is giving them? But I don't think it's just that. I think it's also that Miami is able to turn a lot of possessions that could be something to the rim for the Knicks into them having to make a desperate pass out where like they're choosing to bring doubles within the middle of a Brunson ISO, which can be really scary if you mess up the timing, but they got the timing just right. Or I remember one where Max Strus just super aggressively just goes off of Josh Hart to then double Brunson on the baseline as he's taken, I think, Gabe Vincent in a one-on-one. There was kind of an amazing defensive play by Cody Zeller where he traps quickly on the wing, and then he gets back into the paint to draw a charge on Obi. And then you just had little things where it's like Brunson and Randle try to run a pick and roll, Bam kind of drops for a second instead of switching, and then it's like Gabe Vincent gets back to contest like a pull-up mid-range from Brunson, just the fundamental stuff that's not as like loud, if you will. So yeah, the impression I got was that Eric Spoelstra had 3 days to game plan for the Knicks offense, and it was like, oh my god, the Heat have a plan for everything the Knicks are doing right now. Jimmy also blocked RJ on an ISO one time coming from the corner, and I felt a little bad for RJ on that one. So yeah, man, playoffs.